Like most people do social media personally, but they don't have a plan for it professionally. And then they wonder why they're not getting leads off of it. Well, it's because it wasn't part of your business day. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm super excited because just like always happens, we interview one awesome person in the show and they connect us to someone and they say, you absolutely have to talk to. And today that person is Megan Walters. She's a top producing agent with eXp Realty in Columbia, Missouri. And everybody who listens to the show knows that I absolutely love interviewing agents who aren't in like Manhattan or selling sunset type areas. Like Megan is selling a huge volume of units in a normal city. She is relatable and she's figured it out. So Megan, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we always start with the same stuff. Megan, what kind of business are you doing right now so people can figure out really quick why they should listen to you? Because you're doing more than they are. But what was the volume like in 22 and what are you on track for in 23? Volume, units, both.
Yeah. So last year we closed, I think right around 79 to 80 units at 21 million. And then this year we're on track to hopefully close about 100 units around the 23 to 24 million mark.
So the biggest elephant in the room there is the fact that the number you threw out for 23 is bigger than your number for 22. Yet we know that there's less inventory than has been on the market in my career of 12 years in the business. And on top of that, you have all kinds of fear and negativity out there. You're smiling right now. People listening can't tell that. But how is your team growing despite the rest of the market deciding to go the other way?
Yeah. So a big goal of ours this year was also I wanted to pick up a builder. And through that, we ended up being able to partner with actually probably the best builder here in Columbia. And so I was really excited about that. So that definitely helped with the inventory and the amount of listings, being able to take on a development or two of his and being able to grow that way. But it's just consistency. We're all like well aware what the market is doing and where it's headed. And I always just tell, and I have a team of two other agents and then my husband. So I guess three other agents. But I always just tell them, keep your head down and just focus on what you can control and keep working. Don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to the fear. And I've just kind of learned over the years that helps me. I don't get distracted by the things I can't control. And instead I focus on what I can. And so then we've been very fortunate then to continue growing through it.
I love that. And I think that's so huge, right? Like you can barely tune on the news these days without hearing like negativity. And especially if you surround yourself with people that are giving you bad news, you're going to internalize that and think that the market sucks. But I think the number one job of a real estate professional right now, mortgage, real estate, whatever, is to make sure people know that now is a good time to buy if you're confident in your ability to be able to make your mortgage payments and stay in a house for whether it's a year or more, 2 years or more in certain markets. So talking about the builder thing. So I love that you were looking for a big opportunity specifically that solved the inventory problem, right? Like, so if you think that inventory is the problem that's holding you back, you go to find inventory. So what did you do to land this builder other than being awesome?
Yeah. So we had a couple mutual just connections through that, which definitely always helps. But us just kind of focusing, I think, mostly on what we do and just the consistency of that and putting it in front of them. We didn't want to pick up every builder. I will say that was a big thing. And one of my biggest things was picking up quality. I didn't want to pick up something that I was going to sign my name next to and then have a bunch of people, come back a year later saying that their house is falling apart already.
Right.
So that was a big variable when we had a very, very small list of builders that I was okay to sign my name next to. And so on that small list, we started just pretty much trying to talk to them, get in front of them. I did something made a builder's guide. And so it's a really pretty little black book. And it explains to them all of our services, everything that we can offer, supplemental services through marketing firms, to be able to manage their social media pages, because that's usually something that a builder doesn't have time for. They're not going to have time to get on their Instagram and their Facebook and promote their own business. So we do that for them. And they have beautiful products, so you always have a ton of content, which makes it easier. But yeah, so we made this beautiful builder book, put it in a really nice black box with some kind of like the white little shredded, not confetti, but whatever, paper. put a big pretty bow on it and shipped it to their addresses, which then got us the meetings, which then got us the conversations going, heard the pain points, adjusted to where we could maybe fill where those current pain points were. And then, so then we landed our top pick. I was really excited about it because he's an amazing human, as well as just an amazing builder, obviously. And it's been a really good partnership since. And
I love that. So number one, for anyone listening, I think like people immediately go to, oh, she cold called builders. But it was so much more involved than that, right? Like you did your research first. Step two, you created value, you made a guide and really put in one nice package of everything that you could offer for them. And I think realtors, sometimes salespeople forget to do this, right? Like a lot of us are like, oh, well, I do all these things, but like so does every other realtor or any other realtor could. And we lock ourselves into this idea that like, why would I say this when everyone else could say this? But sometimes just putting it in writing and putting a nice brand behind it is the powerful thing. In step three, you made it look pretty and noticeable. You kind of like, there was a little theater there. Like you put it in a nice box. You made it look fancy, luxury, etc. I'm assuming that's the vibe the builder has too. And then you landed the meeting, then you just crushed it in the meeting with a great personality. I'm sure you developed rapport, XYZ, and then you put your money where your mouth is and actually did a great job for the builder after that. I mean, that seems to me like something that a realtor in a different market could try doing. There's builders in every market, and a lot of realtors call on them, but they probably don't put that level of effort into it. So I absolutely love that. So tell me, there's, probably 700 or so agents in your market. You mentioned you're doing 100 units. There's only 300 listings on your MLS right now. So, I mean, you're doing a huge portion of the business there. I imagine your market share is really, really high. How did you start out like on a huge team? You got a lot of leads in 2016, 2017. Like, how did you get started? Like, what was the story and the progression of like getting started to now?
Yeah. So when I started, I was 23. Yeah, 23. When I started, I didn't start on a team. I had mentors that kind of taught and guided me. They ultimately just kind of told me what to do. Open houses is really where I started. I would do 4 open houses every single weekend, like clockwork, for probably 2 years straight.
So where did you get those open houses from? Because I think half the agents I've ever interviewed have said they religiously did open houses, but a lot of agents today say like, well, there's not many listings. I don't have any listings. Like, how did you set those up?
Yeah. So before I was with EXP, I was with the local brokerage here in town. And so when I joined, I mean, at that point, every agent there had been there for quite some time. They were established. They didn't want to do open houses. So every Monday, like clockwork, I went to every single one of their offices, knocked on the door. What houses do you have listing this week? What can I have open? I learned that I had to do it on a Monday to Tuesday and ask, because by Wednesday, they were already going to be taken by somebody else.
Right.
And so, every single week I did that. And then to the point where I developed relationships with a couple of them that were like the listing kings and queens, to where then I just went to their office every single week. Hey, here I am. What houses do you have that I can have open? And they're like, great, I have my weekend back. You can have it. And so that's what I would do. And it was purposeful every single week that I had to do that on a Monday and make that ask. And if they didn't have it, then I was trying to figure out something else to do that would fill those times, because that time was already blocked on my schedule. So then it was, well, I'm in the office doing floor duty. I'm taking other people's floor duty. Whatever it was for those high producing agents who had already honestly made their money, whatever it was that I knew that they probably didn't want to do anymore, I was there to just take whatever they didn't want.
I love that. I mean, I think the overall idea there is find out what other people don't want to do and then do it for them. Like, I have an agent here in our market who calls on a top producing agent who's been in the business for 50 years and goes, hey, I know you don't put any of your people in a CRM. Can I help you build a CRM? Can I put these people in there? And if I get one of them to buy or sell, like, can I work it with you? And the answer was yes. Yeah. So many agents just want to make a little bit more money, but they're not going to put the time in to doing those things like open houses, like calling their past clients, as basic as that sounds. So if you're a new agent out there or an agent who just needs some business, come up with a presentation. I mean, like, you could take Megan's idea of making the builder guide and you could literally make take your weekend back guide and sell that to other agents in your brokerage and in your marketplace. I mean, there's so many ways that you could apply that. I love that. I mean, you time blocked it. It was there, but you also time blocked going to the agents on the Mondays and Tuesdays to get those set up. I think that's the big thing. For all the people
Yeah.
that write down like, yeah, I'll do open houses, but then they don't get them. I think that's the missing link. And I love that you explain that.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of, when you first started, there were a lot of, let's say, more experienced, wise agents in your market. And you said you were 23. So that's a vastly different than the
Yeah.
average age of a real estate agent in the United States right now. Was there any other forms of marketing that you kind of fell into because of that, or that you decided to make a strategy because there was a lack in the market?
Yeah, so my age definitely was against me my first couple of years. Even with a growing sales production, it was still something that a lot of even consumers would say. I used to have a lot longer hair than this. We joke that I actually cut my hair off to look older, but because I get
So
asked,
so that's is that a tangible takeaway? Get a haircut and double
get
your
a haircut.
business.
I mean, what did they say? Dress the part. It is very true. I mean, I was fresh out of college and looked like it. And so, I mean, a lot of people would ask, like, how old are you? And they would just, and I'm like, and at some point, I think it took about a year. I will say that. It took about a year for me to confidently start answering old enough to help you buy and sell a house. And then at that point, it kind of just turned the trajectory of my own personality to be a little bit more confident and a little less insecure about my age. But then I
Yeah.
started using my age in my favor. So where at my first year, it kind of felt like a crutch, and I just kind of, yeah, it was it was hard at sometimes. After that, I started using it in my favor. And so with like the marketing and people, things that other agents in my area weren't doing, getting on camera, doing videos. No one here did listing videos at that time. I was one of the first, I was, I think, the first person to ever do a listing video. Where you were actually in the video. It's not just of the house, and start talking about the area, start talking about the neighborhood, like restaurants, things like that. And so I started using my youth and putting it behind camera, and then also just through like using Canva, social media, websites. You'd be surprised how many agents didn't even have a website. And I'm really big with Google. So Google reviews. I knew what Google's reviews were. I always Google every restaurant I went to and left a nice little review. Nobody here had that. And so I was the first to like start creating a Google business to now where we're one of the top firms that you'll see, or teams that you'll see when you Google real estate agents here.
Real estate has a lot of contracts. I want this podcast to have a social contract as well. Here's what I need from you. If you're listening to the show and you get something valuable out of it, or you hear something that you think, that's awesome, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram, or if you find my email, send it that way. The more feedback that I get helps me to put together better shows and attract better guests.
So I'm going to do a pop out here. So I've been talking about Google reviews and Google Business, GMB. There's so many acronyms for the past 12 years. I think like the first ever real estate agent I met with to talk marketing, we talked about Google reviews, and it's great because it's free. It doesn't cost any money. You can add a ton of information to your page. And if you happen to be in a market where there's no one that has a Google business page near you within 5 or 10 miles, you pop up number one for free, and you pop up even higher the more reviews you get. And the third demographic, or the third key, is the longer your page has been on the internet. So an easy one, if you're out there, if you don't have a Google business page, if there's not a lot of people in your market that have a GMB page with a lot of reviews, check it out and make one for yourself. I think it's also important to, right now you can make a free one on Apple Maps, especially if you have customers that come to you brick and mortar. That can be an easy one. And then Bing, like not as many people use it. It's 15% of the internet, but again, it's a free listing. So if you're out there and you don't have all of these free listings, make them, because if you're not doing the free easy stuff, you're certainly not going to do the hard stuff when it comes to marketing. You got to start somewhere. I love that. So on social media, though, what do you do? Obviously, you started with Reels because other people weren't doing them. You started getting more active because people weren't doing it. Where are you at now? I checked you out. I see a ton of great content. How do you stay up with it? It can be a lot for all of us.
Yeah. So I actually have a gal that manages my personal page now, just for time management.
Okay.
And so I'll kind of like brain dump all the ideas that are going through my head. And then they kind of keep me accountable of saying, Meg, can you send us XYZ photos, videos, you saying this, blah, 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 blah. Here's some captions. Can you edit it? Make sure everything's accurate. And then they post 3 times a week for me. And then the other 2 to 3 times is myself. So that's helped for sure. But prior to having the ability to pay for somebody like that, I just had a daily reminder in my phone. I would block a day. I'm really big on time blocking, but I had it blocked a day. I would film all the content, and I pretty much had this little calendar of, this page, this video went here on this day, this time. And then I had alarms in my phone that would just beep at me saying like post on Instagram, post on Facebook, this video, that video. But it was all made because I had blocked that entire day to do it, to where then I just kind of shot it out. So really the social media thing, at least and I think in every market, it's very true. But because no one was doing it here, mine was just the consistency. After now 6.5 years of having been consistent, it pays off. And that's a big thing I'll tell agents here when they've just done it for like a week. And it's just like working out. If you only do it for a week or 2 weeks, like you're not going to see anything. You have to do it for so much time to where it's like, now I can walk to the restaurant next door and I can promise you somebody in there knows that I'm a real estate agent. And that's also town, smaller, things like that. But it's that consistency that ends up then being able to reap you benefits later.
I mean, I feel like you just turned off like every person listening by comparing marketing to going to the gym. Because although yes, you and I go to the gym every day, I feel like that is not the norm. I think everyone just wants to why don't we come up with some marketing ideas that are more like take the random pill that they advertise on TV and get skinny and beautiful? Because I think that's
and they have them out there.
Average agent style.
Yeah. They're like, go buy followers. Well, then Instagram's going to ding the shit out of you. Oh, I don't know if I can cuss. Because you did that. But I mean, yeah.
I vividly remember like 2013, 2014, someone was like, oh my gosh, you can go on this site called Fiverr and you can buy 100,000 YouTube views. And I'm like, for what purpose? Like,
right.
I'm sure if this is all over the internet, YouTube has already figured out this and like trained their algorithm to not have this help you. Like if it sounds like in anything, like, right? Like if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But if you have a plan and you just put a little bit of effort in every day, like you mentioned, like, like time blocking for social media, like most people do social media personally, but they don't have a plan for it professionally. And then they wonder why they're not getting leads off of it. Well, it's because it wasn't part of your business day, right? Like if you work in social media, you have a mean boss sitting over your shoulder and they're telling you, I need 10 posts out. I need 5 stories. I need 3 reels. And you do it. And that's why you get results. But in real estate, you don't really have a boss, right? Like the CEO of EXP is not calling you saying, hey, I noticed you didn't post yesterday. Like that doesn't happen. We're in charge of ourselves. We're controlling our own destiny. So I think having that plan, like if people are wondering like why it's working for you, Megan, like it's because you have a plan, and that's so huge. I love that. So you guys also, I know you're big into kind of diversification and having, some fun but related irons in the fire. What is tell everyone about the project that you and your husband have going right now? Like what's the new tangentially related venture?
Yeah, so our goals are to build our rental portfolio to the point where I can retire by 35 is the joke. I don't think it's a joke. I think I'm being serious, but I'll tell myself it's a joke. But that's kind of the goal. But through that also has been starting a property management firm. There was a huge gap in my business, which was I helped a lot of investors buy properties, and they're like, Meg, will you manage it? And I was like, yeah, no way. My husband saw that gap, and that is also something that brought him a lot more joy than what I thought it was going to bring me. And so we've created the property management firm with the real estate team to be able to kind of help fill that gap, but also help grow not only our own portfolio, but also our clients' portfolio. Because through that, yes, you'll get a lot of leads, whether it be listings and buyers, just because you'll know a lot of the stuff that's going to kind of come up before others will.
Well, and I think too, like you're already working with some investors, you're already working with people buying houses. Why not be able to have like a full service solution for them? Like I, as an investor, can be a lot more confident choosing to buy a house from you, Megan, because I know that the minute we're done, it's not like you're going to recommend a property manager to me and like hope they work out. It's going to be, no, like you've told me ahead of time, like what the pricing is like. You've told me ahead of time what the value proposition is like. And I've already had an awesome experience with you on the real estate side. So I can trust that this is like a full service thing. And then that keeps them sticky. It keeps them in front of you. The minute they tell you like, hey, let's pull the property off the rental market, it's like, oh, hey, do you need to list it? Like I'm here for you. I mean, it's like truly full service real estate. And I think it's just one more great thing that you can market. On top of that, when you are managing a property, you now have tenant information every year. That's 10 to 15, maybe 20 new tenants. Those are people that you can market to, that can be in your database. Obviously, if they're your own tenants, that's yours to market with. But if they're your clients' tenants, that's with permission. And that's just so many more people in your community that are going to know you, be obsessed with you, get to experience your great service.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
tangential.
even we just picked up a buyer last week, and a big part about like, if you're a real estate agent that, you know, you're working with investors, the whole saying of kind of putting your money where your mouth is very, very true. I'll interview with a lot of investors, and one of the first questions that they ask is, do you own any rental properties? And if so, how many? And it's a big thing for them because they want to know and make sure that it's what you believe in and it's where you're putting your own finances to grow. Because if not, they're kind of like, And so we picked up a buyer last week, actually, just because I have a whole property management tab on my website. And he was like, yeah, I knew that you didn't just have real estate knowledge. You have, kind of the retention per se knowledge as well. So that's been a really big, and we only opened that about 3 months ago. And I've already probably gotten 2 to 3 new clients from it. And like I said, he's grown, I think, to about 20 properties that he's managing in just that short period of time. So yeah.
Well, if anyone's listening in Columbia, Missouri, hit up Megan. She'll connect you with her husband and they can manage your properties for you. I mean, what I really like is that the extra business that you decided to start is so related and fits in so well to your current business. And I think like too many realtors and lenders right now are thinking about like other businesses that they can start that are completely unrelated to the industry and will really take their focus away from the biggest moneymaker, which is a 3% commission on a $400,000 or whatever the average price point in your market is house. I mean, there's very few professions in the world that you can earn that much money or have the potential to. So if you're going to start something different, think about what you could do that's already kind of in the industry and related. I think it's a huge opportunity. So before we end, I want to talk about events and community involvement, because I know that was one of the huge contributing factors, other than your ridiculous unit count and volume, that helped you get 30 under 30 with NAR. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But I mean, you're super involved in the community, and really it would be hard for someone to not know about you. So what are you guys doing in Columbia that has helped build that reputation out?
Yeah, so the big real estate thing is we do have our own TV show called Selling Como, so that's going to be a big thing. Just more kind of community knowledge, where it's just kind of more recognizable. But on the other flip side, the part that's probably a lot more dear to my heart is we do a lot of charity events as well. And so we try and do one at least once a quarter. But for like an example, like this week, we've got 2 where both of them are with elementary schools. One is for like a Cougar Fun Fest, where we just are supplying a lot of games and photos for elementary students. And then we're doing a coat and shoe drive, where we're providing shoes and coats for some kids at another elementary school here in town that don't have access to it. So always making sure that with the growth, we're very blessed and we're very fortunate and grateful. And making sure that we're giving back at the same time is a big component of who we are as people, and just making sure that we kind of share that with others.
The Neighborhood Realtor Podcast is proudly made possible by the support of our sponsors, Treadstone Funding and Neighborhood Loans, 2 amazing Midwest mortgage companies that now have offices all around the country. If you're a real estate agent looking to partner with an amazing lender, DM me at mattmusket88 and I'll connect you with someone in your market. If you're a lender and you want to join the right mortgage company, DM me and I'll connect you as well.
I love that. So when you're doing these events, it sounds to me like you're really putting the event on and spearheading it. You're super involved. I think too many people, like businesses, sponsor an event and they get a banner up and then they ask for a list of attendees and spam market them. Like, this is very different. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I'm the one that's texting hundreds of people myself and saying, hey, come out. We're delivering flyers to the schools that are involved directly to the teachers. And so we are the ones that are the ones that are hosting it. We're spearheading. We're the ones that are inviting. And ultimately, we're the ones that are going to drop off the product that we've been able to get people to donate back to the school or to the charity or whatever it is that we're doing that quarter. And that's been something that's just been very important to us our whole lives. But being there, being a part of it is huge. Just setting it up and saying, yeah, go dump it in this bucket over here. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, there's so many sides to this. Like, number one, you're doing a good thing that you enjoy and it feels good. And I think that that's obviously the most important. But number two, you can measure the potential like outcome of an event and what your business could get off of it by how many people you or your team can personally touch by doing an event, right? So like when you do something and you can personally deliver X amount of things and you can personally text X amount of people and get in front of them, that's really where business happens, because you might reach out to them about XYZ charity thing, but then you're top of mind for them and they know you're a great realtor. And if they don't, they might Google you to figure out, oh, like, what's this Megan all about? I mean, there's so many pieces to that. It's not about showing up. It's not about all of that. It's about being a part of it and figuring out how you can meet as many people as possible, or how you can use your event as a way to, as a reason to reach out to all of the people in your database, or all the people in your database that you know care about things of that nature. I think that's huge. And I know you kind of do a really good job of getting businesses involved with this stuff too. And obviously businesses have employees, they buy houses. Can you talk to us about that for a moment?
Yeah. So for like the coat and shoe drive, like for an example, like we had all these flyers, and so we delivered it to the elementary school that we're actually partnering up with, but we also delivered it to the business, which is a brewery here in Columbia. And we delivered them flyers and we partnered up with them, and so they're marketing it as well for us. So that kind of then just helps hit that reach. But then it just develops relationships with the marketing team at those businesses. So now I've got like that girl's contact information. Her email is now in our database, going to her subscriber list. And so then it just continues that relationship. And then same with all the teachers. And this particular one, the one that we're going at on Friday for like the Fun Fest, that's at a more that's at a school that maybe doesn't have as many needs on an overall average basis for our town. Well, I'm taking all those flyers for our event for Sunday. That's for a different elementary school that doesn't have as much resources as the other one. I'm taking those flyers and bringing them to Mill Creek, and I'm showing it to all those parents. And I'm like, hey, you guys have more resources on average. Here's an event that we're going to sponsor just for another school here in town. And so it's just consistently kind of developing those relationships with people and different kind of assets like that.
I love it. So if someone listening has a referral of someone moving to the Columbia, Missouri area, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can get a hold of us. Probably best way is actually through Facebook or Instagram. My personal handle is just at Megan Walters, or even at the Walters team. Both get to me. Or on Facebook, the Walters team. Both of those would be great. Or you can just easily Google us, and I will connect to the website, which will get straight to me as well. So
That's awesome. Well, Megan, thank you so much. You had so many great tips today. Cannot wait to get this episode live.
awesome. Well, thank you for having me.